Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the latest in my series on film music and film scores. And actually, I should probably enlarge this category to include television, because I've always had a pile of my favorite TV tunes sitting around. And now that I'm reading this splendid book by John Burlingame, which I talked about yesterday too, actually, Music for Prime Time, A History of American Television Themes and Scoring, I am reminded in the chapter on cop and detective shows, hang on one second, of one of the greatest and most iconic of all of the television theme conception album things, Peter Gunn by Henry Mancini. Now, Peter Gunn was the brainchild of Blake Edwards, who most of us know for his later work in films, from the Pink Panther movies, which also had scores by Henry Mancini, and S.O.B. and Victor Victoria and things like that. He was married to Julie Andrews. He was a remarkable creative genius in Hollywood, and he discovered Henry Mancini in a barber shop after Mancini had just been fired from his not terribly interesting job at one of the studios, Fox or Warner Brothers or something like that. And he was working on Peter Gunn, and he asked Mancini if he'd like to do some TV scoring. And Mancini said, sure. And it turns out that Peter Gunn was a revolution in the history of television film music, because it was the first major score to use jazz idioms, particularly West Coast cool jazz, as its musical inspiration. You know, Peter Gunn hangs out in a club called Mother's. Mother, it's like, James Bond sort of, but before that. Anyway, it's a jazz club. And so there's live music throughout the entire series, actually. And that was what Blake Edwards insisted on. And that, too, was something of a revolution in film music and television music particularly. Now, the thing about TV scoring as opposed to film scoring is that television shows, as we all know, tend to be shorter, and especially American television, let's put it that way. They work in smaller sections, and they have commercial breaks. And so there is less opportunity than in film scores to write large chunks of music. And there's certainly less, non-dialogued action that goes along just accompanied by music. And so when a soundtrack album such as this comes out, and this was on RCA, it's living stereo, it sounds fabulous. It's conducted by Henry Mancini. He would take the tunes, the major tunes from the show, and enlarge them, make, coherent pieces or songs out of them. Now, some of you may say, well, okay, it's just TV tunes and they're just little themes or little sniglets, and they generally are. I mean, they are based, the essence of the TV score is the music, the melody, the tune from Peter Gunn. It became a bestseller. The album became a bestseller. It's been played by billions of people. If you don't know it, you know it. You've heard it. Believe me, you've heard it. Just look it up on YouTube. Just do a Peter Gunn theme or something on YouTube. You'll hear it. You'll hear somebody doing it somewhere. It is the iconic, cool, detective jazz theme. Really, really kind of amazing, actually, that it has so penetrated our consciousness. The first time I heard it, I didn't know that it was a TV show. I didn't know it was Blake Edwards. I didn't know it was called Peter Gunn. I just knew that tune. And so will you. So what Mancini did here for the album was take some of the melodies that he created for the television series and expand them for jazz band effectively. And they are marvelous. It's not just redolent of that period sound, it emerging from the big band era, which Mancini was part of, actually, and then combining sort of early rock with jazz harmonies, and it's totally late 50s, early 60s, but also it's phenomenal music. These are amazing tunes. And lest you think that, well, it's just a tune, it's like not an extended developmental thing. Well, it's not. But that's true of songs, right? That's what songs are. They are tunes. They are tunes that repeat, basically. unless they're through composed. But most songs, by Schubert or Guillaume de Monchaux, you name it, they've got a tune. You've got a middle thing. Your tune comes back, and you've got another verse, and then the refrain comes back. I mean, that's what songs are, and that's what these are. You think of them that way, and don't get an attitude because they happen to be written for television. Some of the greatest music in the 20th century was written for television. And it will be a great pleasure, beginning here, for me to talk about some of it, because some of it just absolutely, it's irresistible. I mean, great music gets under your skin. You never forget it, and it always affects you. And that's true of the theme from Peter Gunn. Why that happens, I leave that to the psychologists. All I can say is that if you're going to get a disc of like great TV music, start here. This is the place to really, sink your teeth into some first class musical work. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Oh my gosh, it's just amazing. Take care.